How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. So thanks for doing this. I think it's pretty cool. I saw probably through either Facebook or Instagram or something, and either your mom or your dad shared it, and I was like, oh man, these girls are doing amazing stuff. Um, and what I want to talk about today is first, I think let's just start with, Kathryn, you just finished. It's your first full Ironman.
Yeah, and I've never done a half either, so I kind of just went into it.
Wow. And Bella, this is how many marathons? Is this your first full marathon or
It was my
second?
second.
Okay. And I think what I feel like what a lot of people don't realize is that, the amount of time that you have to set aside and the sacrifices you have to make while you're, I mean, Catherine, you're still in school. Bella, you're still in
Hmm.
school and you're working. And, all this balance of that to me is more amazing because it's not like you're professionals and that's all you're doing is training for an Ironman or swimming, or whatever sport it is, right? This is all up to you to plan. And I mean, I don't know if you had a coach, but those are the kind of things I think people would like to know about is a few things I wrote down. One was, the motivation to why did you decide to do it? And then two, how did you manage it? When were you doing your training? The nutrition and the diet. Like so diet, nutrition, training blocks, all that kind of stuff, balancing it with work life basically. So, I don't know how we want to do this because it's the three of us, but let's start with going backwards in time and saying, okay, Um, what sports did you play? I know you both swam, and I mean, I want
Yeah.
to get into all that. Like some of the people that I talk to that have done ultra runs or even just like running or anything, it's like golf, whatever. Usually a sport, and I have two daughters and they swam, but they only swam because we said, hey, we want to teach them how to swim, not like they're going to be competitive. So, like, how did you guys get into your swimming? Like, did your mom swim, or is it like something you just decided that they said you guys were going to do?
I started swimming because I saw Bella swimming.
Wow.
So that was like my motivation is she started and I was like, well, now I want to learn. So that's like where that started. And then Bella, I'm not sure. I think maybe it was mom and dad that were like, let's put us in swimming. Yeah, I mean, we were in a lot of stuff as kids. Like we did like ballet, we did tennis, we did swimming, I did a little bit of golf. I think Catherine also did. But swimming was the one that stuck. So I think our parents just threw us in whatever. And obviously I'm sure they had in mind the same as your kids, John, to, teach us how to swim for
Yeah.
safety reasons. But I think that that was the one that stuck for both of us that, okay, we actually really like doing this. And then we just got really into it as kids.
I feel like because I was a swim parent, and I know your mom was like an official at a point, right? And I used
Yeah.
to go, and I was like one of the guys that would volunteer to do the timing, and I remember doing timing for you both of you when you guys were little. But talk about how like what age was it when you kind of remember when you went and what group you swam for? Like, did you start at the Y? I mean, there was the BPVA, then there was lane four. So walk me through how that progressed into like even high school or whatever swimming.
Yeah. So at first it
Uh,
was, sorry, at
yeah.
first it was Stingrays. That was like our very first team we were on. And then eventually it went into BPVA, right? And
Yeah.
then we switched over to Lane 4 Aquatics, and that was where we were most of the time. Like majority of my swimming was at Lane 4 Aquatics. And then we did high school swimming. I did high school swimming freshman and senior year, but Lane 4 was kind of like my home and my place. I actually quit high school swimming because I just resonated with Lane 4 so much that I just wanted to stay there. And I just think I got more out of it, and it was just a lot more dedication there.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, same thing. It was Stingrays, and then PV and Bettendorf combined to make BPVA or whatever it was called, and then obviously Damien started Lane Four Aquatics, his own team, and we kind of got roped into that. But yeah, we were there for a long time. I did high school swimming, I think my freshman through my junior year. And then I actually decided to quit swimming. And then I came back and did in between swimming and not swimming, I did track. And then I came back to swimming. And then after the 3 years of high school, I finished up my last club season, which was my junior winter. And then I started rowing.
It's funny, like I didn't know until I got into the swimming, and then I started to learn more as one of my girls played soccer too, that the competition in the leagues was way better than the high school like leagues
Oh
and
yeah.
all, right? So like,
Definitely.
club swimming was way better than the high school swimming. And no offense to the high school swimming team, but club was traveling, competing against, other cities and stuff like that kind of national level type thing. It was the same with soccer. I felt like
Mhm.
the PB girls and the Bettendorf girls do have amazing soccer teams, but the club level, once you get to like Olympic development and all that, is way more competitive or whatever. Now, did anybody
Yeah.
like guide you that way, or that's just what you guys did?
Like
That's
guide us
just
towards club.
Yeah, like I mean, how did that all come about? Like, how did you guys meet Damien? Like, and who was Damien, and what were the practices like with him? Because I can tell you, as a swim parent, the amount of time that you guys spend in the pool is ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, Damien was someone that our dad knew. That's who I think I don't even remember. I think I was in um fourth grade when Lane 4 became a thing. And I just remember I went to school with his sons, specifically the oldest one, and I remember him kind of cornering me one day and being like, "Are you gonna join my dad's team?" And I didn't want to because I had a bunch of friends at, BPVA. And, but yeah, he was just like our dad's friend. And then we started with him. And I think I have a much different, experience with Damien than Catherine does. And we can get into that. But
Let's
Mhm.
do
Damien
it.
was just
Why?
kind of somebody. Why?
Yeah.
Well, for swimming for me, like when I was little, I was like super duper into it. And I know Catherine was as well, but Catherine, like I wanted to mention this that I would start something and then Catherine would start it after me. And maybe at first I was better than her, but then Catherine always got better than me eventually. Like when she was like in her prime, she was way faster than me, way better than me at like anything that we did. And so, but at that point, like I was the faster sister.
Yeah, I
And
was not very
so,
good at the start.
right, I was kind of riding that high and I loved being on my team and then we got with Damien and I think part of um shifting into the team was a little bit harder for me because I loved my friends that I had on my previous team. And Damien was very hard on me. He was hard on me because he cared and he saw like a lot of potential in me. Of course, as like a 12-year-old girl, I didn't see it that way. I saw it as somebody yelling at me all the time and being like mean to me. But Damien and I definitely got in screaming matches. We got into a lot of tussles, verbally, but there were some points where I did not like Damien at all. But as the years went and I went through like quitting and then coming back and trying different sports, Damien was kind of that constant for me. And so over the years, like we would have our arguments and our disagreements, but now Damien is somebody that I look up to almost more than a lot of people. So it was like a long journey to get there, because we did spend so many years with him. But now I understand a lot, maybe not everything, but a lot of what he did and what he put us through because it did make us better and not just in the pool. It made us better people and just better athletes in everything that we do. I think that anything that I pursued after that, the principles that Damien instilled in me and probably in both of us probably ring true throughout any training that we do in anything. So,
Um, and Damien and I had a completely different relationship. Like I would see him yelling at my older sister and screaming, but him and I like I mean sometimes we'd see Damien more than our own parents and our family. So he was like a father figure for us for a period of time. And I think him and I had more of like the like father-daughter, more like a teaching like father figure for me rather than like him yelling at me. So I think we got along very well. Obviously, he would be tough on me at times when I needed to like get my butt in gear, but completely different relationship for sure.
How far apart are you guys in age?
2 years.
2 years.
2 years. Okay. And then Bella, I think your dad told me that are you coaching right now?
I am coaching a
Okay.
collegiate team, a swim team. Yeah.
And
Yep.
so do you think that what would you say your coaching style is versus Damien's? And let me, second part of that question is when you guys went through it, let's call it how many years ago? 15 years, 14, 13, 14 years ago when you started to now. How do you, so one question, one, how do you, have you, mirrored his style or adapted anything he taught you? And then two, how do you find the kids that you're coaching compared to when you went through it? Like, are they softer? Like, is it even okay to yell at them? Talk about that a little bit. I mean, Kathryn, you can share whatever happened with you too, but as a coach now, Bella,
Yeah. I mean, I would say I'm completely different than Damien when it comes
yeah,
to coaching. Um, I think I look back on my time in swimming and I do compare a little bit to like what I used to do or the workouts that Damien used to put us through. Um, and I have gotten in the pool with them before. I've made them do some of my own little challenges. And there's definitely like a lot of differences. I think these girls, being from New Jersey in a completely different state than Iowa, I can even tell the difference between the programs they came from versus the ones that I swam against and swam for in Iowa. I think there's a really big difference there. That's just kind of what I'm noticing. But I would say that my style is more influenced of like my collegiate coaches at Jacksonville University more than Damien, but I do sometimes I see myself just being like, okay, like you need to be able to do this and just like kind of putting my foot down. But I understand that these are young women that are in college and they're going through a lot more than like probably I was at 12. So it it's perspective. It changes everything. So
yeah. So I want to actually, Kathryn, I want to talk about real quick because we're talking swimming.
Yeah.
In the triathlon, I looked up
Hmm.
your time and your swim time. So you can tell everybody about the Ironman because I don't know a lot of people know what it is, right? So 2.5 or
Yeah.
4 mile swim, the 112 bike, and then a full marathon. But I looked, your swim time is in like the top 10 times of the guy that won it.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Um, yeah, no, I got second, I believe second or third overall for the women's side. And I knew that was my strong suit, and that was something that I used the swimming more as recovery during my training
Okay.
and just really focused on the bike and the run. But the swim was definitely my strong area. I was very confident for it. I think what kind of held me back a little bit is the second loop. You have to run back out and go back in. You have the waves coming back in, and then also you have like now the slower, like the backpack of the group going in. So there's people that are like trying to grab onto you. I had somebody try to use me as like a life raft and like push me down, so I had to dive down a bit. But yeah, no, the swimming was definitely like I felt very strong.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. And then I was looking at your, um, I think I noticed that, and you can like tell me about the bike because there's a story behind the bike, I believe. The
The
bike that
bike
you
was,
used and that
oh
kind of
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I actually did my first Olympic triathlon in January. Or no, it was March. And I never touched a road bike before and didn't know anything about like I just had my bike from when I was younger. So I was able to use my uncle he passed away. I was able to use his bike. So that was very special for me to like honor him in that way during the race. The bike was definitely the hardest part. Once you're like 10 miles in, you realize you have over 100 miles left. And that was I wanted to get off at that point. It was freezing too, because it was earlier in the morning. It was like such a mental block at mile 10. But I made sure to really focus in my training on the bike mainly because I knew that was going to be the longest portion.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just like, I felt very, once I got into it, I felt strong because I knew that I had my uncle with me during it. And so that was kind of what helped me get through it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. Um, I have a couple of friends that are really big, tribe people. I had a couple of
Mhm.
customers back in Boston that were like super into it, and they had bikes that were, I mean, they had like $15,000 tires, right? So the
Yeah.
bike was like a $25,000 bike, and they were talking about how, just saving like 1 mile per hour, is huge, right? So that's like an
Yeah.
hour over the 112 miles where if you averaged 15 miles an hour and you could average 16, you'd be qualifying for Kona. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
like your time, you're an hour and a half ish around getting qualifying for world championships in your first Ironman.
Yeah, no, it was crazy. And actually, I saw that if I had competed in 2024, I would have qualified for Kona. But because there was just so many fast girls that were competing in that race, it was crazy. I think the fastest girl went a 10:37, which was insane. But I did see some very expensive bikes. I actually calculated like the average amount that was in like that space where all the bike racks are, and it was $8.1 million worth of bikes in that one area. Because there's just crazy expensive bikes.
Yeah. All right, let's switch gears back to Bella real quick because I forgot about that, Bella, that you went and started rowing. Explain like how that happened here. And what's even crazier is like, I'm from Boston, but coming out here, I didn't even know that there was rowing in this community out here. So tell me about that, how you went and how did you even get involved in the rowing?
Yeah, so I don't think I even knew rowing was a thing um before I started, but I, I was kind of done with swimming, and I realized that if I wanted to go to college out of state, I needed to get some sort of scholarship, and that meant athletic. And so I needed to do something that wasn't swimming that was going to get me that athletic scholarship. And my mom happened to see an ad in, I honestly think it was the paper. I think we were still getting the paper. And it was for this rowing team in like that rows on the Mississippi, in Illinois, like just over the bridge. And so I saw that, and my best friend, my hometown best friend, and I joined at the same time. She didn't like it that much, so she stopped eventually, but I like really got into it because there's a huge difference with swimming and rowing, and it's just the team aspect. Because swimming, you are on a team typically, but it's a very individual sport. Whereas rowing, you are in a boat with, 2 to 8 other girls, and you have to work together. You absolutely have to work together, otherwise it doesn't work at all. And so the team aspect was what really hooked me onto rowing specifically. And it was just something completely different. It was something absolutely different than swimming, and I think that that's what I really needed. And so that's how I started, and I officially quit swimming, like I said, in the winter of my junior year of high school. And 8 months later, I started getting um, college offers. And so that was my transition. I just fell in love with it and decided to go right into it. So, yeah.
I think the other thing about both those sports is it's like minimal investment in terms of not time, but investment in terms of you don't really for swimming you need a bathing suit, right? I mean they
Mhm.
make
Right.
expensive bathing suits and all that, but for rowing, I'm guessing it's the same thing, right? They provide you with all the equipment, the boat, whatever. So it's like
Yeah.
a no barrier to entry kind of deal with if you're going to say to someone that's young right now, hey, maybe you should try that, I think that what you hit on was perfect, like that team aspect. Because so my youngest, they both played. My both daughters played tennis too, and they played club tennis. And my oldest played high school tennis for PV. But my youngest, she quit because it was so individual. You're out there by
Hmm.
yourself, right? And I have pictures and videos of like her sitting like between points, just sitting there like by yourself. And I'm like, man, that's first of all brave, but also that's a pretty lonely place to be. So she got
Yeah.
really more involved in the soccer because of the team thing. So that's really cool. So
Hmm.
did you when you competed here, did you ever make it out to like the head of the Charles and all these other big races, or did you guys row locally?
So my team specifically, so there's I'll try to explain this as quickly and as simply as I can because rowing can be a very complicated sport to explain. There's two types of rowing. There's sculling, which is two oars, they're smaller, and then there's sweeping, which is just one big oar. So in high school, my club team only did sweep rowing. Or only did sculling, sorry, there was no sweeping. And so when we went to like regattas or races, that's all we were competing in. There were typically the two different events, sweeping and sculling, but we only did the sculling events. And so since I started so late, the one race I never got to do even in college was the head of the Charles, and that's the one race I would like to do. And so if I ever go back into rowing, it will be specifically to race a master's race in the Charles, which I say that to everybody who asks, but my team did go to like Canadian Henley, and just like a lot of races like on the coast because that's primarily where rowing is like, most popular in America. But I personally didn't get to go to super huge races until I went to college. And so once I got to college, it was actually my senior year. We fundraised over $100,000 to go to the Henley in England. So we went to women's Henley. And so that is like it's one of the biggest regattas in the world. And that was an amazing experience. We somehow got a bid. And so we raced in Amsterdam and then we raced in England. And so that was probably the highlight of my rowing career, I would say. But that was the biggest out of country race I'd ever been to. But eventually I would love to get back into it and go to the Charles. That would be awesome, yeah.
Yeah. So, Catherine, how come you now looking up to your sister? How come you never did you even get into rowing at all, or no?
No, I
Didn't
never
have
got
any
into
interest?
rowing. I think I was just like at that point so invested into swimming. It was like literally my life, and I think it got to the point where it was kind of toxic. I kept putting all my effort into it, and I kind of had plateaued and burnt out, but I just kept pushing myself, and I don't know, I had this like obsession with it. And so at that point, I wasn't following her in the steps towards rowing. So,
It's funny you say that because I remember at one point, we wanted our girls to just be active, right? Like you can't just
mhm.
sit around, you're not going to sit around and do nothing. And it was probably like 4 or 5 years into the swimming. And I mean, as a parent too, you guys know if you're in a swim meet, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is gone. You're just like there
Yeah.
the whole time. And you might swim 5 events and they're last less than a minute each one, and you're there for, 3 days straight. And we went and said to the girls, like, do you want to, keep swimming? And my oldest was like, look, if I do swimming this year, I can't do anything else. And I was like, all right, that's it. That's it. It's just that it became, like you said, not completely toxic, but just as a 12-year-old, 13-year-old, she recognized that it was just a time suck. And it was like great. It was competitive. She liked it, but it was just every second was spent in the pool.
Oh yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
like morning practice. You
Yeah.
go to school and then you come right back to the pool.
That's when she said, I'm done. The
Yeah.
morning ones were, it was like 5 in the morning till whatever, go home, change, and go back to school, and then swim again for like 3 hours. I never could understand how it translated. And maybe Bella, as a coach, you can tell me this, but how many laps you guys would do for practice when you were like, if you were like a 50-meter specialist and you're swimming. The comparison I make is like, okay, if I'm going to run a 5K, I'm not going to go run 25 miles every day. I'm going to run track work or whatever. But swimming, to me, it felt like you're just in the pool doing laps the whole entire time. And whether you're a sprinter or a long distance swimmer, you're just in the pool. So how does it actually translate to like being a sprinter versus like a long distance swimmer?
Yeah, so I mean, on average, at least for the team that I coach at, we're doing like 4,000 to 5,000 yards each practice. And then, you have your weightlifting and things like that. But when you are like, if you have a specific, like if you're a sprinter or if you're more of like a distance swimmer, you typically will have a specific practice or set or sets plural
Right.
that you're gonna do that will like set you up for your races. So the girls that are distance swimmers aren't always doing the same thing that the sprinters are doing, and it's often that they're doing something different. Or if you have a specific stroke that you typically do, you're gonna do sorry, my cat is in the background. You're gonna do a set that is specifically for the stroke that you're swimming. But yeah, it depends on the day, but that's typically how coaches will break it up. Yeah.
The top now, the swimming thing. I want to go back to you, Catherine, for a second because I did maybe four sprint triathlons, and they were all different because it wasn't the same one. I did four different ones, but tell me about the start for the swim. Was it a mass start where you run in, or were you in the water? Like, tell me about that because that to me was like the most intimidating thing. I thought I was gonna die.
No, they actually stopped the mass like start for the Ironmans because it was just like very dangerous.
Oh wow.
They what they would do is they would have like for both the Olympic and the Ironman, they'd have like two lines. And then you put yourself where you think like what time you're gonna go. So obviously faster people in the front, and they have you go every 5 seconds. And there's like a beep, so you know exactly when to go. And then you just run in. So I think it was very organized for both of them.
I didn't know that. I know there was one, and I think it still goes on the Crossroads in DeWitt, where you started like we started in the water. So we were like in the
Hmm.
water, just floating, and then they let us go. But first one I did was the Quad Cities Try, which just ended. They're not going to do it anymore, I don't think. But anyway, that was one where you ran in, and I didn't like that. I did not like that at all.
No,
Um,
it's especially when you're running against the waves. It was
oh
kind of
yeah, because
scary,
it's
but
the ocean, right?
yeah.
Wow. So I mentioned nutrition and diet. I mentioned like so can you guys give me an idea and maybe Bella for the marathon, right? And I know kind of what it takes to train for a marathon. It's I don't know if you followed like a 16 or an 18-week program, and I don't know how many miles we were running per week and all that, but like how did you fit in your runs during the week, your long runs on the weekend? And then Catherine, same kind of question with multiple things, right? Swimming, biking, and running. Like how did you manage to incorporate your workouts with your schedule, going to school, and then what kind of diet or nutrition were you on?
Yeah, so for this marathon that I just did, um, it was gonna be about a 3 month training period. It ended up being more like 2.5 because I had some the original race I was actually going to do got canceled, and so I had to like last minute find another one. So it was about a 2.5 month training period, which wasn't ideal for me. I didn't want to do that, but that's just how it worked out. And this semester specifically, I am coaching, I have student teaching, and I also have another job. So fitting in the training with all of that it was a little bit daunting. I did start like right when I got back from summer, so it was about like the mid end of August, and then I just did it in early November. So it it was a week to week, almost day to day, trying to figure out when I was gonna run, if I was gonna be able to get my body up early enough to go for a run before I had to go to work or coaching or whatever. And if I didn't, then when was I gonna fit in my run, whatever. There was, I mean, I think one week where I didn't even do a long run because I had absolutely no time. My body was like done. But yeah, fitting all of that in was crazy. So I had a plan set up day to day, and it was just kind of like I'm gonna get these runs in eventually. It might not look exactly how the plan looks, but the mileage will get done. I think like my peak week mileage was like 47 miles in a week, but other than that, yeah, and it just like went, up to that and then a little bit lower. But I did have to cut off my taper. My taper was supposed to be 2 weeks and it would just turn into one, which was fine because I got a huge PR and it ended up being okay, but not ideal. My nutrition, I think Kathryn can probably give a way better representation on nutrition because she's
Okay.
way more into that than I am. I will say I have this is a this is something I share whenever somebody asks me about this. I have eaten the same meal for for almost 2 meals a day for the past 3.5 years. And I don't know why I've done that. I don't know why I've hyperfixated on it, but I get carbs, protein, and then I put a vegetable in there, and that is literally my meal almost every single day. So that's probably not the best
Wait,
example
hold
of
on. What
nutrition.
is it? You're gonna reveal what it is?
It's and my dad is he's gonna slap me on the wrist for this, but it is pesto pasta with chicken, and then I either do like a tomato and avocado or I just do a cucumber. But
With some
it
mozzarella in there
has
too.
yeah, it has been that for literally 3.5 years straight.
Your lunch and your dinner every day.
Almost every day. Yeah.
What about
Yeah.
breakfast?
Breakfast is whatever I can, whatever I have time to eat. If that's like a little breakfast bar, if that's cottage cheese, yogurt, whatever I have time for, I try to eat. I've been doing a lot of overnight oats. That's a really good hack. I do that a lot. But yeah, and then during my marathon, I gel. I do the gels. But yeah, but Kathryn on the nutrition side, Kathryn can give a way better representation than I
One
can.
second. So, so then, Bella, do you meal prep for the week, or do you do it every day?
I do that every day.
So you
Yeah.
make it every day. You don't even
Yeah.
meal prep. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I have too much going on to
Yeah,
even have time to meal prep. So I
really.
literally just I find time throughout the day to get the meals in. Yeah. Yeah.
So let's hear what the nutrition plan is. And then I also want to ask you about the training and how much time. I know you said you spent the bulk of the time, and I would too, training on the bike because it's the majority of the race.
Yeah.
But like your marathon training, how did you even, I mean, between the swimming, the biking training, and then the marathon, that just seems like a nightmare to me.
Well, what helped is so when I had an internship till June, and then after that, I decided the last semester of college, I'm gonna be unemployed and I'm gonna like finish it off with an Ironman. And I do have 5 classes, so there's that as well. But I had a lot more time because I didn't have a job. At the start of it, I was doing 15 to 16 hours a week, and then I built up to my average was probably 18 to 19, and then peak week was 24 hours. So that was like a crazy week. It was very tiring. But for the bike, I was doing 9 to 10 hours a week on that usually because I just really needed to focus on that. And mentally, I just sitting there with no music, like I had to practice just no music, no TV, just to build my mental strength. And then the running, I built up to 40 miles as my longest week with the 11 hours of biking. So that was my longest week there. The swimming, again, I just put it in there for recovery, doing that 3 times a week, just easy. And I was right on course for under an hour for the Ironman swim. But for the nutrition, before I started, I really wasn't like locked in on my nutrition at all. And then I realized very quickly that I needed to because with like that many hours, I couldn't sustain that at all. So I just would meal prep like tubs of rice, chicken, turkey, beef, but like mainly carbs, oatmeal. I had to nutrition test for my long bike and runs with different gels that wouldn't hurt my stomach because I have a very sensitive stomach. And I found that the Huma gels are perfect. I do the Huma Ultra gels. And I had zero issues through the Ironman at all. Like my stomach was perfectly fine. I was able to take down the exact amount. So the nutrition for me, I think it was a learning process, but at the end of it, I think I nailed it and it's what helped me.
I mean, obviously, you're not going to be able to take any nutrition in the swim, but then on the
Mhm.
bike, in the bike, and I've never had to do it that long either. But what do you do? Do you have like a special shirt where you can stick the food in and the drink, and their aid stations? Like I've never done one, so how did that work?
There are aid stations. I had a tailwind so I could get
Okay.
some liquid calories in there. And then I also had it was like a little bag that was strapped onto my bike so I could just reach down and grab it. And then there were some on my back, which some of it fell out. So at the aid stations, I did have to like you have to keep biking and then just hope that you are able to grab it out of the person's hand.
So Bella, real quick on the marathon, you said gels, and did you train with gels too? Like, I mean, I don't know what gels did you use?
Um, I always do goo,
Okay,
but for this second one, I decided to do a goo and then because I don't like all the flavors. So I just picked like the one goo flavor that I like and then I decided to do a honey stinger like goo packet that they do. And that I really liked because it's not as thick as goo and that was easier to get down.
yeah.
And it wasn't as like flavorful, so it's just like something to get in my body. But during training, I don't just because I don't like to, I don't know, when I work out, I don't like to put too much in me like at all. And
Yeah.
otherwise my stomach hurts and I don't, yeah, and it like messes with me, but during my races I do. And it helped a lot. I could tell that I like kind of got like a boost from them every single time. So,
What
yeah.
did you do? Did you time it out where you did it at a mileage, or did you do it by time? Like every 20 minutes, every 30 minutes? Or did you do like, hey, 5 miles, 10 miles, 15 miles?
Yeah, I did it by miles. So I
Okay.
kind of just I opened my first one around like 7 and then it like I just tried to keep like putting it in my body, but it took me like a couple miles to actually like finish the first one. And then I did do that for the rest of them. I had like two more and I just like finish them over a little bit of mileage just because I was just like I can't just like shove this into my mouth right now. I need to do it like slowly. But yeah.
So, hey, Catherine, you're on the bike and you're riding, and I mean, you have to really pay attention to not crashing, right? So,
Yes.
how do you eat? How did you get your goos open and do all that while you're riding?
Well, I haven't yet mastered how to do that well on the aero bars because I'm just like not a very coordinated person. So I kind of had to just sit up in the saddle and then grab it, rip it, and then get on the aero bars and kind of just like lean over and slow, like she said, like slowly over time. Because the ultra ones are huge, and I just, again, I wasn't able to like do that all in one go.
On your bike, do you have a gauge to see were you paying attention to your times? Or not times, but your miles per hour and the time on the
Yeah,
bike?
I had my Garmin on and I like flip
Okay.
it so that it's like I can see it
Pacing.
and
Yeah.
I was able to track my mile per hour like the whole time.
And Bella, same question. Did you use a watch to measure your splits? Did you join I'll tell you one thing I always coach people if I do on like on a marathon, I think one of the biggest mistakes, and maybe it works for some people, but is running with a pace group. I always feel like especially if it's your first or second one, where those people are trained to hit that pace every mile, right? So, like, think about when you averaged 8:15s, but they're averaging 8:15 and they're running 8:15 the whole time versus like, hey, I might be running 9:30 and then I can run 7:30, like, and then balance it out. So, how did you kind of pace yourself for this one, knowing that you had
Yeah.
like not optimal mileage training for the race?
Yeah. I do have Garmin as well. So I do use that for, the mile by mile just to kind of see where I'm at. But obviously there were pace groups. I started with one for like the first mile. I was just like, I'm just gonna stick with this person to get just like into it a little bit. And then after that, I was like, okay, I can get a little faster. And then I stuck with a pace group for like 6 more miles, I think, and I was like, okay, I'm feeling good, so I'm gonna go a little bit faster. I told my family this, I was like, I overshot it, like by a lot. That first half, I was flying, and then once that 13th mile came, I was like, okay, I need to like, pull it back a little bit. I ended up doing fine, but I think initially I was like, I'm gonna stay with this pacer for this X amount of miles and then I'm gonna break off. I just did that a little bit earlier than I probably should have. But either way, I think just no matter what the race is for me, I try to find one person throughout each kind of like phase of my personal race and like what I'm thinking to kind of just like either pace off of them or just
Yeah.
have them in my sight
Yeah.
and just be like you're gonna stick with this person or you're gonna keep them in your view for X amount of miles or however long you can or whatever it is. And I did that throughout this one as well. I just kind of used the pacers in certain sections of my race, but I don't typically like focus on them as much as maybe other people do. But yeah.
I think the only drawback is, and they're great and they work and people love it and they do it, but I feel like just running with the people I run with and knowing like marathons and how, like I said, how they're trained to hit each mile that pace. What
Mhm.
happens can happen is if you are feeling kind of bad and you see your pace group leave you, you kind of mentally you're like, oh shit, I'm getting dropped here. And then it kind of
Mhm.
can creep into your brain like, oh man, I need to catch up to them. And then you might overexert and then next thing you know, you blow up. But let's just
Yeah.
say you ran a marathon in 3:41, which is amazing, right? So second marathon, very limited training. And I'll ask both of you this. So now, do you have any motivation to try to do it faster or do another one better?
Yeah, so when I went into this, I did my first half in Jacksonville during my senior year of college. And it's at like a huge event. It's called the Donna and it's for breast cancer awareness. But I just did the half that time. And for some reason, when I did track when I was younger, I just kind of have been like decent at running and I just was like I'm kind of good at this and then in college we ran so much because COVID was still a thing when I entered college and so I kind of got a little bit better during that and then I did the half and I was like this was great like I did it under 2 and I was not expecting that at all. I just kind of did it for fun. um and so then I was like, after college, I'm gonna run. I'm gonna get really into running, and this is my thing. And I have this like reach goal of qualifying for Boston, and they just made it faster, so that's really great and awesome. But that's my reach goal. When I first did like my first one, I wanted to finish it, and then my training was going really well, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and finish under 4. And I did. And so that I was like, okay, great. And then I went right into running like 2 weeks after, and I was like, I'm gonna start training for my second one, and I injured my knee. I don't exactly know what I did to it, but my second marathon was supposed to be in April of this year, and I just couldn't do it. My knee was like not allowing me to walk comfortably, and so I was like running a marathon and training for it just isn't feasible right now. And so I took time off, and then I did this marathon, and my knee was perfectly fine was perfectly fine during the race as well. And so that was really encouraging. But I did talk to Kathryn kind of near the end, I think, of my training and near the end of hers as well about losing motivation during this past training.
Yeah.
And just I think because of how busy I've been and trying to figure all of that out, and then I have to go run 20 miles, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to do this at all. But I did it, and my training went really well. That was the thing. I had almost no motivation, but I was putting down numbers that I haven't seen before and that I didn't think were possible. So I was like, okay, so clearly I'm doing something right. I just don't want to be doing this right now. And then I did my race and I felt really good. I mean, it hurt really bad, but I felt really good, like mentally. And I mean, like I feel like everybody kind of hits a block around 2022. And I did, but my mental was really good compared to my first marathon. Like for me personally, I don't think I've ever gone into anything with such a good mindset and kept that good mindset, which is something that I've struggled with throughout my whole entire athletic career. So I was really proud of myself for that. Um, and then I have been looking at marathons to do later next year, and I think that that's something that I do want to do more and possibly really try and do, qualify for Boston, however long that takes me. And maybe that goal will go out of the window at some point, but for now, I think that that's still a goal that I'm gonna reach. I just now know that if I go into it too quickly, I might like maybe re-injure my knee or cause some issues. So recovery and doing low impact stuff is like my best friend right now. So yeah.
All right, Catherine. So you got the swimming down, Pat, and you're probably feeling pretty confident going into the Ironman that swimming isn't going to be an issue. And now you're training on the bike. Did you train outside or did you train a lot of stationary bike? And then when it came to the running, and when you have like the peak week of 24 hours, like what was your long run? I saw your time and I'm thinking, that I think it was like 440 something,
Yeah.
445, which trust me, that's a pretty good marathon time after biking for 112 miles and swimming for 2 and 2.4. So do you have any like goals or aspirations to do another Ironman and get better at
Um,
it?
so when I was 12 miles into the bike, I was like, I'm never doing this again. I literally hate this. I want to get off.
Yeah.
But then once I hit the run, I was really nervous because my knee started to hurt really bad the last 2 miles of the bike, and I was like, I don't know if I can even do this run. And my body like literally went numb, and I think I like blacked out, but I felt really good on the run. I walked all the aid stations to just kind of like reset myself. But while I was running, I felt great. And then when you reach the finish line, it's like out of this world. Like it was just such an amazing experience. And it made me like when I hit the finish line, I was like, I want to do this again. Like I got chills. It was so cool to see everybody just like the energy is just amazing. So yes, I think I have a lot of improvement for the bike, maybe getting like a triathlon bike that'll cut a lot of time down. And like you talked about for the run, my longest run was 20 miles, and then that was the day after a 6 hour bike with a 6 mile run. So that was tough, and I had to take like a low recovery week. And then I rolled my ankle really bad because I'm a clumsy person. And that was 2 weeks out from my race. So then I was like, all right, early taper, and it ended up working out great. So I think I do have a lot of room for improvement, and then possibly qualifying for Kona would be pretty amazing.
But let me ask you this about like your gear, like shoes, right? So it's gonna be
Hmm.
different for you, Catherine, but for you, Bella, like what shoes are you wearing? What socks are you wearing? Like, did you take all that into consideration in terms of like, okay, I need a high mileage shoe, I need a stability shoe, I need a cushion shoe. What shoes are you wearing, or what did you wear?
Yeah, I use Hoka's religiously. I tried other shoes and I do attest some of the new shoe to some of my knee issues, and I like never touched another shoe ever again. So I use Hoka's. I like I think it's their Cliftons, just any of their super thick, high stability um road running shoes. I have tried a couple of them and I love them and I think they work super well for me. Um and then the socks that I use a brand called Features.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And yeah, and I literally buy a new pair for like every race I do, and if I go into Feet Fleet, I'll buy a new pair. But those are definitely like my top socks and shoes. And I will literally tell anybody go get some Hokas. I love Hokas so much. So yeah.
And Catherine, you got a different like so did you have clip-in shoes for the bike?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so I had to learn how to use those.
Yeah.
The
Uh,
first time I did fall a couple times. But sorry, were you gonna?
no, I was
I
gonna
think
ask
I
you what
interrupted you.
shoes did you wear for the marathon? So like you
Oh,
transition.
yeah, I used Hoka's because of
Okay.
Bella, actually.
Yeah.
Originally I had Asics and they like came apart within like a month of using them. Didn't go well at all. Then I got Hoka's and it was like I was running on a cloud. I love them so much. And then turns out that Ironman is very strict on their shoes and they'll disqualify you for wearing shoes above 40 millimeters.
Oh,
So I
really?
couldn't wear this. What?
I said I didn't know that. That's crazy.
Oh yeah.
Really? So like
Yeah,
the heel 40 millimeters is the max cushion?
yep. Yep.
Wow.
So
Huh.
so I had to get different shoes. Turns out those are also not allowed. And then finally I returned those, got a different one, but they're Hoka's. So and I have flat feet, So I really need a stability shoe, and they were the only ones that were like good for flat feet that were like legal.
Yep.
And so that was a process of finding the right shoe. And it was actually I had to run on fresh shoes that day because it was like I found out last minute that my shoes were banned.
Is it the Mach 6 or something like that? Which shoe is it? It's the Hoka Stability. What is, do you know which one model it is? It doesn't matter. I just
Um,
want,
I don't even know. I got literally the last one at Dick's Sporting Goods that were legal. I was like, get me one that's under 40 and I'm good.
wow. So, Bella, like I wore Hoka for like 5 or 6 years because I had like a foot issue, and then I had a real foot issue, and I had to go back to Brooks Adrenaline because I needed a more stable shoe. But I was not anti super shoe, but I'll tell you, they make a huge difference. So obviously, if they're banned from triathlons, they're not banned from marathons. And I mean, if you're going to try to do another one and you want to get faster, the super shoes are ridiculous. Like the ones that have like a carbon plate, and
Yeah.
I have the New Balance like Fuel Cell V3, and you can't run slow in them. It's just amazing how
Mhm.
much you get of a push. Some people think it's cheating, but I don't, at this point, I don't care. It's a shoe I would race if I did. I would race in a super shoe.
Yeah, yeah, and I have seen obviously I've seen a bunch of stuff on carbon plated shoes, specifically like the Nike ones, but and the Adidas. But I always said if I qualify for Boston, I will buy myself some carbon plated shoes. So
And
it might be
so,
a
all
few
right.
years.
So, what's your B Boston qualifying time? Because I don't even know anymore. They, like you said, they changed it. They lowered it, meaning you have to
Mhm.
get faster. And then
Yeah,
I think what their intention was with that was for like the last 5 or 6 years, you would have to BQ, but then when you went to register, you had a BQ minus time,
yeah,
right? So like if your time was 3:30 and you think I'm in, it was like, no, no, no. Then you have to then it was like BQ 3:30 minus 5, minus 4. So I don't know what it is now, but they also added in a net gain of elevation.
hmm
So like if you run a qualifying time, but the course where if you gained, like downhill, they add 5 minutes to your time. It's so stupid. But anyway,
right.
what is your BQ time?
It now needs to be a 325. It was a 330. And I don't know exactly what I haven't, I mean, if I were to get a 325, I think I would be happy.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly, the difference that I need to make up there. Because I'm not close to
750s.
it right
So
now.
I looked at your times and I looked you like you said you were going like 8:20s, 8:19s for like 20 miles. Like it was
Mhm.
pretty consistent. And then that last six is where you could have run a 325 or you could have run at least a 3:30 anyway. You were pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yeah, yeah. So I looked at times like for this marathon that I might do next year. I looked at the girls that qualified, and they were going like 7:48 average to hit like a 325. So
Yep.
yeah, it's a little bit of a stretch, but from my first marathon to my second one, I did go about 40 seconds on average faster
Wow.
each mile.
Very cool.
So, and that's kind of what I have to do to qualify for Boston. I don't think it'll be that easy. I don't think my third marathon I mean, maybe, but I'm not gonna expect that. But that is it. I do need to kind of get around 40 seconds faster to qualify. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah. So, Catherine, going into the Ironman and, not having done a full one before, did you have any like goal? Did you have a goal other than like, hey, I just want to finish? Or did you actually have, hey, I want to do it in under 12 or under 13?
My goal was to get under 13.
Okay.
And I knew during the bike I was gonna beat that because I just like kind of impressed myself with how fast I went in the bike after I like got in the groove of it. But yeah, it was under 13. So. I'm pretty happy with that.
So that bike time, what is that average per mile? I can't do the math in my head. I know it was like a 6.5, almost 6 hours and 20 minute bike. What's that
It
miles per
was
hour?
it was 17.7 miles per hour, I believe.
Wow. And that's not even a tri bike with like
Yeah.
carbon tires or any of that stuff.
Yeah,
So think
no,
about how
just
much that's probably obviously, I mean, if you were going to do it again, that's probably where you could shave like an hour,
oh
or you
yeah.
might be able to shave like a half hour off of the
hmm
run, eventually. So do you have that as a goal, like to do this and qualify
Yeah, I
for World
absolutely think
Championship?
that like where I can get the most time off is the bike. And they have a bunch of like great triathlon bikes on Facebook Marketplace that you
Yeah.
just need to get tuned up. And I think that could really make a difference over the course of the 100 miles.
I asked you, I forget what you said. Maybe we didn't even get there, but so the majority of your training on the bike, was it on a stationary bike?
Oh, it was at the start because I was very scared to go out on the road. And then I found a bike path that was there's no cars, no lights, and so I went back and forth on that loop for hours. And that's where I wanted to get a lot of outside training, just to get that edge and get used to that.
Bell, how much training did you do on the treadmill versus outside?
I try not to do any training on the treadmill because I find that I think hurt my knee.
In-
Along with
Yeah.
the shoe. I mean, there could be so many different things that hurt my knee, but that to me was like I don't want to do that again. So I think I did maybe 2 runs on the treadmill this past training, but there is a super long trail um in New Jersey where I like around where I live, and I just it's like the Washington Trail or whatever it is. But and it just runs along the Delaware River for the most part. And so I just run on that just down and back however long I need
What
to.
part of New
Yeah.
Jersey is it that you're in?
I'm in central New Jersey, so I'm in the town called Ewing. It's right next to Trenton.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trenton's really
Mhm.
nice.
Yeah.
No, no, I'm only kidding. I lived in Philly for 2 years, and I used to have a friend that lived in like Cherry Hill, and I've been to
Yeah.
Trenton and Camden. But
hmm
and Catherine, you're in Florida?
Yep, just north of West Palm.
Okay.
hmm
And let's switch to okay. So Bella, you're in school still too, right? And what do you want to, so what are you majoring in and what do you want to do for a career?
Yeah, so I'm doing a 2-year master, so I'm in my second year of that right now. And that is teaching English as a second language. My
Okay.
undergrad was education for instruction. And so the goal is to get a teaching job, or anything that kind of has to do with education. It could be like in the community. That's kind of what I concentrated in my undergrad years. So just anything that regards to education, but primarily would like to get a teaching job. So
And do you have any idea like where you want to end up from of geography? Like where do you want to live?
so I'm moving back down to Florida after this year of school. And so in the summer I'll be moving back in with some of my old roommates. So I'm excited for that. It'll be fun.
And Catherine, what are you studying?
I'm studying finance, and I'm actually graduating next month.
Yep.
Um, and I was planning on moving to North Carolina because I got a job offer, but then I got another job offer here in Florida that was just I couldn't turn it down. So,
Yeah.
I'm also going to be staying in Florida.
So do you feel like both of you feel like that when you do get a job, it's almost like you're going to have more time, right? I think maybe not
Mhm.
to probably, fit this kind of either marathon running or whatever it is or triathlon. Like, do you feel like that you'll continue to do it, for a long time, or just this was like one and done, and what's going to motivate you to do it, and
I think that with like a job, I'll have a lot more structure. I really liked the triathlon training because I was very structured with it. and like what discipline I would do each day or double days. So I think that with the job, it'll be structured. I'll know exactly when I'm working and then be able to work my workouts around that. So I think it'll honestly make it easier than like my classes, and then the assignments, they're all due on different days, presentations. So I think it'll just honestly help.
Yeah. What do you think, Bella?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. If I have a set schedule, then I'll be able to work around it instead of, sometimes I'm working this job and sometimes I'm student teaching and then I have to be coaching at odd times of the day. So it'll definitely keep a structure and it'll make it a little bit easier.
So I have a question that I got from your dad. He said
Oh my
ask the
gosh.
girls, yeah, he said ask the girls how much money they made. I think it was your grandfather or maybe that asked you, or he said he would give you guys money for every lap, or I was like, he didn't even know. I said, well, how much was it every 25 meters, every 50 meters? So apparently when you guys were younger, he said he would pay you $5 per whatever.
It was per lap,
Yeah.
I believe, right?
Yeah. And it was a
Yeah.
25-meter pool.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
But like
And
swimming was like walking for us. Like
yeah,
Yeah.
we just were in the water all the time. So this was like, we're like, okay, we
free
got
money.
this. We can go
Yeah.
forever.
So how
Yeah.
much
They
money
had to
did you make?
stop us.
Yeah, yeah. How much
Um,
money?
I don't really
I
remember. I
I
mean,
think almost eight, maybe 6 to 8. I don't know. It was a lot. That's I know
Yeah,
for like little me, I was like,
yeah, I mean, we were
yeah.
what, like 10 and 8?
yeah, and we
I
just
don't,
kept going for
yeah, they
like
had to stop
ever.
us because it
So
Yeah.
was just,
he said he had to stop you guys because you were at like $800 or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's what it
yeah,
was.
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, I got a last couple questions 'cause I don't want to take up all your time, but one I guess would be for any of the things that you've done in your athletic career. Do you have any advice for someone that like Bella, like your journey from, swimming and then finding rowing and rowing getting you something, right? It got you a scholarship and now an education, and that's pretty cool. And then, Kathryn, like, do you have any advice if someone said, hey, you're a really good swimmer, and if you just decided you wanted to get into an Ironman, here's what I would do. Or same thing with you, Bella. I mean, hey, you went from swimming to rowing to now running. Any advice for someone that's looking to try to add something to help them, right? Because to me, it sounded like, your experience as a swimmer young with a good coach kind of maybe molded you into, okay, now you have that structure and now you can apply it to your work, you can apply it to anything. So any advice you guys have?
yeah. I mean, I guess I have a couple things to say to that. One, like, take every opportunity that is presented to you. I think that's something I've learned. I'm still learning, and people ask me what my plan is, and I'm going to take whatever opportunities present themselves. And it's the same thing with athletics and what you can do with athletics. I think I joined rowing because that was an opportunity that presented itself, and then it flourished into doing that in college. And then, and then going into running, like that was just something I decided after college that's what I was going to do. But specifically, being a college athlete is a pretty unique experience. And when you're done with those 4 years or however long you did it, it can be very hard to transition into not being a college athlete anymore. It can be hard on your physical and your mental and your emotional. And I think that that's a really big topic. But for me, I knew that being an athlete since I was 6 years old, I was I wasn't just going to be able to stop cold turkey doing something active. And so there are so many things that you can find after being a student athlete or being an athlete for years and years. But for me, I think a lot of people go into running. I think that that's kind of getting more popular, especially I think in the rowing community. Um, I just think like find something that you like doing, even if it's like a little bit. Find something that can challenge you. If it's running, train for a 5K and see from there. Like just do something. Just find something that can transition you out of being a collegiate athlete to everyday life keep something that's stable. And if that's physical activity for you, that's great. Just find one thing that you can do that makes you happy. But yeah, just find every opportunity and then just find something that makes you happy. Because once you're not, once somebody's not telling you this is what you have to do, you have to get up this day and do this day, you get to be like, I get to say what I can and can't do now. And that's a blessing. It sometimes it doesn't feel like it, but it is. So yeah.
And then for me, I would say something that my coach Damien actually told me, is something that I struggled with was during my swimming was to enjoy the journey and that it's really about like the time spent with your teammates and just like the opportunity to even be able to go and swim, just to enjoy it. And that's something that I didn't learn while I was swimming. I got so caught up in how I performed and I kept adding time. I was burnt out, and it was just something that was, I think, toxic for me, and I was not enjoying it. And what changed for the Ironman is I actually like found something that I loved doing. I recognized how much work I put into it, and I took it day by day, step by step, and it changed my mindset completely going into the race day. I was anxious, obviously, but I was more excited, and I never felt that before, like a swimmy. I was always like, I wanted to throw up. I was so anxious. And this time I was like, I'm ready to go. Like, I'm excited. I loved every second of it. And so I think that's something I would tell somebody is to really just enjoy it because it's going to be worth it and you're going to feel so much more confident.
Yeah, I think you both touched on it a little bit, but to me, I think what it does is also look at how many people you met through whatever you did, right? Through their
Mhm.
swimming or through the rowing and through your college experience. And like you said, I mean, that's one thing I think is the people that you meet along the way. And I can just tell you that, I met so many amazing people through running, like amazing people, that have been my friends since I got involved with them. They're just still my friends. Like that long, like when you go and you run with someone and you train with someone, there's like a bond that you have with them. And I think that's another way to, hey, I met all these people. And then I would say, I think, Bella, you mentioned it's almost like the mental health part of it too is humongous, right? Like if you're sedentary, it's like, what are you doing? I think motion, it helps, getting up and doing something is going to help your mental health. And I also feel like from a job and a corporate type environment, being competitive is that's what it's going to be about for you guys. It's going to be like, hey,
Mhm.
you know, I want to be competitive in work too. So I feel like it's a benefit all around. Um, yeah, I don't know. So I think, do you guys have any questions for me? Or do you have any questions for each other? I know you guys are one's in Florida, one's in New Jersey, but I really appreciate you doing this. It was funny because when I told your dad, when I asked him about it, he was like, "Oh, I was gonna have him on my podcast," and I was like, "Listen, I don't want to take them, away from having to do your podcast." But anyway, your dad is one of those guys I'm talking about. Like, I never would have met your dad until we started through a friend running together. And, I think he's one of my best friends now, and I don't even talk to him that much. I talked to him yesterday. I talk to him every once in a while, but um, I think it's pretty cool about the friendships that you can make through running or biking or swimming and all that.
Yeah. Well, do you plan on doing another ultra or a marathon?
Yeah, I kind of got into we did a backyard ultra. I don't know if you know what that format is, but it's the craziest type of race. You have to run, it's 4.16 miles and you have to complete it in an hour. And then it
Hmm.
resets every hour. So like if you ran 9-minute miles and you made it back in 36 minutes, now you have to wait till the hour
Yeah.
starts again. So then you just keep doing that. And I talked about it earlier about how like if you're swimming 4,000 yards a day, but you're doing a 50-meter sprint in a freestyle, this is the same thing. I'm not used to this format. So I did two of them. I do have the bug to try to do another one and maybe get better at it. We've been talking about possibly doing another long race, but I'm never going to stop running. So it's just a matter of like, hey, do I want to do a 50K? Do I want to do a 50 miler? Do I ever want to try to do 100 again? Maybe.
That's amazing though. I did watch a documentary off VPN supplements of their
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
like the four
go
mile
one
every
more.
hour. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so cool.
there's a guy that I did a podcast with. His name's Mark Dowdle, and I met him at a backyard ultra in Wisconsin, and he did the podcast, and the guy's amazing. And his goal is to become a professional backyard or like an ultra team runner. And he got into that Nick Bear race for next year.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah,
That's exciting.
That's cool.
yeah.
Well, something that I'd want to do with Bella is an Ironman relay. We could have somebody do the run, somebody do the swim and the bike. Not sure who the third person's gonna be, but
Yeah. Yeah. I
Would you
also
do would you do the swim, Catherine, then, or the bike?
I mean I would do both, but I would probably
Oh
prefer
man.
to do the swim. Somebody else can do the bike and
yeah. I'll take the run.
yeah.
I don't know if I ever want to do a bike like ever. So
It's
like
expensive too,
and
so
yeah. And then another thing that's really popular now is high rocks. And
mhm.
I think I kind of want to I want to kind of just do at least one, but I think doing like a doubles would be super fun with Catherine or whoever. I think just doing a bunch of doubles with people would be
Yeah.
a cool experience, fun.
Yeah. Speaking of that, so, that's like I feel like CrossFit morphed into High Rocks because CrossFit was like
Mhm.
not sustainable, right? And then it
Yeah.
turned into High Rocks. And I had another guy on, this guy Brian Dorfeld, and he competes and does High Rocks. He did Boston, and I think he did Chicago. I can't remember, but man, if you ever want to pick somebody's brain about how to train for that, it just seems horrible. It seems like it would be not fun.
Yeah, I think Catherine and I grew up kind of doing circuit type
Yeah.
workouts a lot, like specifically with Damien. And whenever I did that at JU, like that was something I just was able to pick up because of how often we used to do it when we were younger. And so for that reason is why I wanted to get into high rocks because one, I don't think a lot of people would think about it this way, but I think it's a lot less impact than training for a marathon. And it's just something that like moves my body in a different way. So I think while I'm kind of taking a break from marathon training, doing something like a high rocks, I think in my mind it's gonna be hard, but I think it's a little bit more fun than just
Yeah.
running for however many
Yeah.
miles.
No, I
So
agree. It's definitely different, right? And you got all these different disciplines, right? Um, and I think rowing's part of it, right?
yes, the erg, yeah, it is.
And what do you have to row?
I think it's
Like
a
how?
1K.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Yeah, but every time you do a station, you do have to do a 1K lap, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I actually have one more question. So I have two brothers. I have an older brother and a younger brother. So I'm the middle. So Catherine, you're the middle, but um, they always say like the youngest is usually the best. Maybe it depends, right? But like if you look at like how is your younger sister? What do you think is her future in sports?
Um, I well, right now she's kind of just having fun with friends. She's a talker, big
Okay.
like chatter. So she's not really dedicated in sports right now. It's more like a social thing for her. I don't really I think I'd see her being the sister to kind of do like multiple different sports just to like hang out with friends. And honestly, like I wish I would have done that to get just more, I mean, social time and like just a wider range of sports. But yeah, I think that's what she's gonna end up doing.
Yeah, I think anything she picks up, she's good at.
Yeah.
She's just kind of like that type of person. She is swimming right now, but
Mhm.
she did tennis when she was really little and she was
She's
amazing at
good.
it.
She was good.
She's a good runner too. I've put her some through some of my like field workouts and she's been able to do them at like the age of like 8. So she's a very athletic person and she's right now she's super tall. Hopefully, that
Yeah.
translates into, her later ages because I know I shot up like a tree and then I stopped growing. But I think whatever she ends up doing, she'll be good at it. Right now it's swimming, but yeah, like Kathryn said, she doesn't have. I think Kathryn and I having each other when we were younger, it forced us to be competitive, not with each other, but just we had somebody with us that was like pushing for something and it motivated us to push for something and it was like
Mhm.
that push and pull, especially once we got older. I guess like Kathryn seeing me do it made her want to do it, but once we got older, it was like, okay, Kathryn is doing this and I want to do that and vice versa.
Yeah.
So Amelia doesn't have that. She has like two older sisters to look up to, but she doesn't have somebody directly with her all the time. So I think she's kind of figuring out what she wants to do. And that's totally
Mhm.
okay because like Kathryn said, I think we took swimming and what we were doing so seriously at such a young age that it kind of burnt us out mentally. And I think Amelia being able to just have fun with it when she's younger, she can start to take it more seriously if she wants to when she gets older. And I think that will prevent any potential burnout for her. So,
Yeah, I feel like there was so many girls like that were like in between my oldest and youngest on like the BPVA team that were like state champ at
mhm.
9 and state
Yeah,
champ at 10 and then gone at 11, right? They've
yeah,
gone. They
Yeah.
just got so burnt out. And that's kind of why we pulled them out of it. But yeah, I think you have to really, are you doing it for the right reasons? And I think you really have to just say, okay, do you want to do it? Right?
hmm
Is this something that you haven't, are you having fun? That's, I mean, we haven't even talked about that, but like if you're not enjoying it,
yeah,
then there's probably a problem, right?
That's definitely
yeah,
what I want for her is to have like a different experience and just have fun, even if it's just like her with her friends right now, at least she's staying active and then eventually I think that like motivation and dedication like will come with the sport that she ends up loving.
yeah. hmm
Well, I really appreciate you doing this. Do you have anything you want to say to your dad? Because he's gonna share this this podcast. I don't know. I do want to ask a million questions about what it was like to have him as a dad growing up, but I'll leave that for him to if he does get you guys on.
Yeah, that'd be an
That
interesting.
I think that would be a whole nother podcast in a good
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
But
Okay.
yeah,
it'd
All
be a
right.
funny
Well,
one.
I again, I know you guys are busy, and thank you for the time today and making your schedules work. I really appreciate it. And I hope, Catherine, congratulations on graduating, and Bella, good luck. Thanks for doing this. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
yeah,
thank
thanks for having
you.
us.
Okay. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.